Alrighty folks, welcome back to Shallow Pocket Seekers. We got some deer this week, or these last 2 weeks. We got a few rabbits and squirrels. Our gray fox made an appearance. And we also got a stray cat still wandering around. Here we got some deer get spooked. I'm guessing the coyote was running close by. This doe here is acting weary too, and she's also down here using the trail that I just cut out where yeah. She's got 2 fawns with her, which makes her a relatively unknown doe. We did have a doe with 2 fawns a couple times last summer, but she seems to be a new deer hanging out here on the property a little bit. This here I think's a deer that was a regular last year. I think this is the doe I call Big Doe. Hung out with the 3-point. Usually seen them together last year on the property. It could be a buck with no it's shed. We've got quite a few deer on this camera that are coming up here from the end of the driveway, which I never thought there would be as many deer as there are that comes up through. This I think is a doe and a fawn that I was calling lumpy jaw in the last video, which I found out this video wasn't correct because lumpy jaw does show up, and it looks like the lump on her jaw is a I don't know how to say, an infection of some type, because it looks like it popped, and it's either a little bloody still or scabbed over. I'll point it out later on whenever she shows up in the video. There goes the stray cat again. One of the rabbits. And this here in front of this camera is, we put oats and rye, oats and red clover in here, and then just a little bit up past this we switched over to rye and red clover and the rest of it, which the rye is starting to green up, and the clover is too a little bit on the warm days we've been getting, but for every warm day we get a couple cold ones, it seems like. There goes our gray fox. He was around the last couple weeks. Couple squirrels. Some snowbirds come in with the snow through here the one day. And the rabbit come through again. And this camera here is out in the woods. It's on a somewhat of a road trail path, whatever we cut up through here. The first year I owned the property, and I really don't know what they're feeding on, as long as they feed here in front of this camera, and as many different times as deer in front of this camera. Because most of the acorns, because there's a few oaks around it, and they hit it pretty hard last fall. I'd have thought they'd had most of the acorns. There is some shrubs, and she ends up pulling out a old dead fern, so that might be what they're feeding on, the dead ferns in here. I don't know for sure, but what's keeping all of them interested in eating here? Because if you walk through here, it just looks like dead leaves, and there's a few little pieces of blueberry bushes growing, but it don't look like it'd be enough to keep them interested in eating here as much as they are. Another squirrel running around. This area is planted in rye and red clover. Here we are back where I don't know where they get enough food to keep them this interested in here, but they're liking something in here. That there's Lumpy Jaw. If you seen it, or if you caught it there whenever she was in. Kind of looks like the end of that lump's kind of bloody, like it did Bill Wade or something. This looks like Big Doe again. And how you can tell her from the top of her back to the bottom of her belly, she's about twice as thick through there as the rest any other deer I get on camera. She's even thicker from the top of her back to her belly than most of the bucks that I get on camera. And there's her, and there's another one that's pretty much the same size that I've seen since I've owned the property, and I haven't seen either one of them have a fawn with them. There goes the flying squirrel. He'll come back across. You can see his tail there. Still feeding here, out here in the wood, and it's got to be them ferns or something. Almost got to be, for them to be spending as much time as they are in here. It must be something that they like about them. And for some reason, for this early in the year, my property is getting visited more than it ever has by the deer. I hope that continues. Be interesting to see how many of these deer do stay this summer. Thanks for watching.